We were pretty famous back in high school. Trust us!
Had a whole future ahead of us, but now we suck.
All that potential now is flowing in the aqueducts.
Through the sands of time, many did forget.
But now our time has come to resurrect. But a podcast?
Sad I know, but can you blame us?
We are desperate to be much more than high school famous.
Well, hello, Sean.
Hello, Matt.
That was great.
Yeah?
Yep.
Hello.
Hi. Yep. Hello, and welcome to another thrilling episode of High School Famous. I almost forgot the name of the podcast.
Oh, golly. It's so
Wow.
Has it been a whole week already?
Yes. Oh, my God. I was drawing a complete blank. The podcast that answers the question. Hello, Sean.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
I see you prepared an intro of your own.
Just like while I was waiting for you to jump on.
So I opened my file for nothing.
Needlessly.
Thank you so much.
Needlessly clicked on an icon.
I mean, I may have joined the call seconds earlier had I not needed to do that.
We'll just we can cut the episode early if we need to.
Cut it short because of that lost time. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, everyone. This episode might be seconds shorter than it could have been.
Yeah.
Because I unknowingly clicked on an icon that I did not need to. Well, I had to click an icon, and then I also had to, go down and find the specific file within the list of files. So, I mean,
was it below? It wasn't right there on the first page. You had to scroll dodown.
I didn't have to do any scrolling.
Oh, okay.
No. It was, I think, third or fourth one down from the top.
Okay.
So no scrolling needed. But still, I mean, we're looking at 2 clicks that could have been avoided.
Right.
But due to your selfish nature, you knew I was going to have to do this.
I didn't know how.
If I was expecting to deliver the intro, you knew I was going to have to.
I wasn't expecting you to be prepared ahead of time. I was expecting you to do it while we were recording.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't do that.
I never expect either one of us to come prepared.
That's a good place to be in.
Right.
Because you'll never be disappointed.
Right. At least with this. I'll be disappointed with other things.
There's a lot of other things. Yeah, you don't need another thing to be disappointed about. So it's good to set your standards to set your standards appropriately for this. Now, why not apply that to other aspects of your life to avoid disappointment there?
Because I am incredibly lazy and I didn't think of it until just now.
Gotcha.
When you mentioned it.
So going forward, you may begin to do so.
I mean, I have the ability to.
Whether or not you will is yet to be seen.
Yes.
Very well.
But yeah, yay. Hi. It's, I'm still tired.
I am too. I am quite tired. So you're welcome, everyone.
Yeah. Yep. Here we go.
Enjoy.
This is a rousing start.
How do you like my fancy new headgear here?
Oh yeah, what's that? What are those?
It's just
single.
It's a single ear, no microphone, little earpiece to plug in for this, so I don't need to have both my ears covered or prop my headphones in a way that are awkwardly placed on my head to only have one ear covered. And there's no risk of this thinking that this is my input source
right.
It's a solution to a problem I was having.
There you go. I'm just still going with the slightly cocked off my ear headphones.
Yeah. Well, I think this was $13 on Amazon. It arrived the next day. But again, I have Prime, so that's why.
Yeah,
you're so fast.
So you got that Prime money.
I mean, sure. Why not?
It's not very much. What is it, like $40 a year or some shit?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Man, I wish I had that kind of money, or I just don't even care to look at how much I'm spending every year. God. Sean's rich, everybody, just so everybody knows.
Sure,
Sean's got quite... Google his net worth. It is staggering.
I don't think you'll get any results if you try to Google that.
Well, we'll see if anybody tries.
I mean, you might pull up results for, say, Sean Combs or Sean Astin.
Not if they're searching for you specifically.
Yeah, but if they don't...
Like, we couldn't find this Sean, so how about these Seans? Did you mean these Seans instead?
Well, yeah, if the direct exact results that were searched for don't exist, it will try to replace it with what are similar results, what you might have been looking for. Maybe you accidentally typed tattoo instead of Combs, Google would suggest.
Right.
Because they're very similar words.
Yeah, it autocorrects you. Like, did you mean this?
Yeah, it autocorrects based on, I'm sure you meant this important person. I'm sure you meant to search for this celebrity and not this unknown. So we're going to fix it for you. Thanks. You're welcome from Google.
Did you mean billionaire or whatever, millionaire Sean Combs, or did you mean small time nobody podcaster Sean Tattoo? Because there's no way you meant him.
No, why would anyone?
You must have meant Combs. Clearly, you hit the T instead of the C because they're so close together on the keyboard.
Yeah, and then you proceeded to also continue with the wrong letters entirely after that. It's not a one-letter mistype.
They clearly didn't have their fingers on the home keys when they started typing this.
No, clearly not. That or maybe they did the whole attempt where you have your hands covered while you're practice typing, and you must have missed the home row completely.
I don't know if I've ever done that. I hated typing class so much.
I did until it clicked and I could finally type.
Yeah, I mean, I can type. Like, I am definitely not like a home row, put your fingers on the keyboard and just kind of person. But like, what do they call it? Like chicken pecking or whatever you do, where you kind of
hunting and pecking. I think it's called
hunting and pecking. Like, I hunt and peck, but at this point,
very well.
I hunt and peck well. Like, I can hunt and peck pretty quickly. I just like my style of typing now. I know where the letters are and I can jump around knowing where they are, but I never like put my hands down and just move just your fingers. My hands are constantly in motion like a freaking kung fu keyboardist.
I think someone who would bother to perfect and study all the disciplines of kung fu would take that same discipline into typing and type properly. So I think that's a very poor analogy.
Okay.
I would just say that your hands you have like shark hands in that they just never stop moving, but that doesn't mean that
sharks notorious for having hands.
No, I'm not saying that you have the hands of a shark. Your hands behave in a way that sharks do when you're typing, as in they never stop moving.
Okay,
that's fair to say.
I mean, is it fair to say yeah, you can say it.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Feel free.
I figure maybe a little more accurate than comparing yourself to someone who masters kung fu and applies that to your typing methods. I would say I don't type like 100% properly. Like, I will type in the same style as someone who knows what they're doing, but they say that
style as someone who knows what they're doing.
Well, I have both my hands at sort of the home row position, but they say like for say the P and the O, like there's certain fingers you're supposed to use with every letter.
Right.
I know I don't follow that to a T, so it's sort of like informally. It's like an informal version of the formal typing that I do.
It's correct adjacent.
Sure. Yeah. It's close enough.
Yeah, I know. Well, and it clearly works because you definitely type faster than I do.
Well, I don't. What did you have, Mr. Rossum?
I don't think so.
As a keyboarding teacher.
I don't think so.
Because I had to take keyboarding before that, and it never like clicked, as they say. Right. And then once I was in his class, and at the beginning of every class, we had to type the alphabet just so many times in a row.
Okay.
And that's what did it for me. That's what kind of had me learn.
Okay,
that
makes
all
sense.
The letters are on the keyboard, and then I was just able to type after that. It just
then it becomes it's like unconscious. You're just like your fingers just know where to go. It's like that. I can do that with 10 key.
Sure.
For numbers,
I'm not that
I
great
can
at
just
10 key.
like I can just be like staring at a sheet of paper and just 10 key like freaking mad because I just used to have to put numbers in the computer a lot, and so I got really really good at 10 key.
I've seen a few people that are like that. That I'm like, I have to be, when it comes to the 10 key, I have to be looking. I can't trust myself enough to.
I got pretty decent at it, but like, it's like when you see like old video of like accountants or something and they're just going freaking nuts. It's just like
their hand is way over here and their head is looking over in the opposite direction at something else. And they're just flying.
And then they go back and they verify it all. And it's just, 100% perfect. You didn't screw up.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, 10 key is
back when they had adding machines and it would print out what you typed as you went on those little things.
A little spool of paper.
Those were the days.
Those were days.
Yep. Those were the days of the adding machine.
Those were the days of the time we were speaking of.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, speaking of sort of this retro era, I've been watching Mad Men, and I mean, I've seen most of the series before, but I think I caught John Hamm on a podcast, and I'm like, oh, they were talking about it, so it made me want to sort of go back.
Okay.
And there's just very, it's the 60s, so
right.
Every little office has a bucket of ice and glasses and some bottles of liquor at the ready, and everyone's smoking at work, and there's just this. You hear typewriters going all the time and phones ringing, and there's this weird there's this weird level of like office formality that is in the show, which I'm sure is based on reality, and there's all this discretion, and there's this hierarchy between a person's secretary is sort of responsible for not only managing calls that come in for who they work for and paperwork, but also dealing with their wives, like, letting them know they're not around, but not saying where they are. Like there's this whole understanding that you have to be able to work in an office like that. And it's what a weird time that would have been.
Yeah. And now it's like an office is like, you can hear a pin drop half the damn time.
Yeah.
The offices are so quiet. Like we had this guy who, for whatever reason, the keyboard for his computer was one of those really loud, like keyboards, like old school keyboard. It was just had that really loud click. Yeah. So when he would type, you could hear it in the entire office
all around. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, why do you have this old fucking like,
do you think
early Macintosh keyboard? Like what the hell?
Do you think he's like, that's the kind of keyboard I want? And so
maybe because it had that like older feel to it, maybe because, now it's most of the time it's just like a sensor or whatever. The keys are so quiet on them now, but this was like an old, this was like, it could have just been a textile thing for him of just that feel.
I mean, is he older? Is he an older gentleman?
He had to be in his 50s or so. He doesn't work there anymore, but he was he was our like kind of quote unquote tech guy of the office too. Like he was the guy who was always fixing computer issues and stuff. So it's like, I don't know, it probably just a preference he had, but I'm just like, it's so weird and loud every time he typed anything.
What's nuts about computers and computer code and all that stuff is it's still the binary system. Like every code you write has to be then compiled, and it can be translated for the computer to be just ones and zeros. So the computer can still understand the instructions. And I don't, it baffles me. Like that's way over my head how that all got sorted out and figured out.
Right.
And how one even goes about creating a new like computer code language.
Yeah, you think it's like weird that it was. How was it easier to create that system as far as like, well, everything can translate to ones and zeros. It's like, well, why would it need to, shouldn't it be able to recognize the letter A? Why does A have to now turn into ones and zeros? Why is it easier for the computer to recognize that A is this number of zeros and ones compiled together means like, I don't know what A is in binary, but say A is like 7.
Right. Versus one character.
7 digits versus. It's like, why is that easier for the computer than to just train the computer or teach the computer or create the computer to know what A is?
I don't know.
It's so weird. Yeah, I'm not. It's more of a rhetorical question. I'm not asking for your answer.
Yeah. I mean, there has to be. I mean, there probably is a lot more sophistication in it than I'm aware of, but I remember learning that a while ago, and it doesn't make a lot of it doesn't seem to make sense. Like you're saying, one character, which would be one character, has to be stretched to X number because it has to fit a pattern of ones and zeros. But I guess if everything from the birth of computing is based on that, it would probably be a crazy undertaking to remove that sort of foundation layer and have it. I don't know. But
I should get the phrase "What's the deal with binary?" in binary like tattooed on me somewhere.
You should. Yes,
you
should
deal with binary.
That should be the next thing that you do.
Yeah.
Oh well,
of all the things I should do.
Take a look at what it would look like if it ends up being like a full sheet of paper's worth of stuff. I don't know if you want to get that tattooed on you.
Yeah, let me take a quick look.
Find it out right now.
Yeah.
How many characters is the phrase "What's the deal with binary?" in binary?
I can just do a kind of binary code translator. Hold on.
Hold on, everyone. Matt's translating some code text into binary.
Deal with binary. Convert. Do it. Paste. Oh, no, wait, hold on. Swap.
Continue waiting, everyone.
I had it doing binary first. This is good stuff.
We are not prepared yet with the results.
Oh, God, yeah. No, that's very long.
Yeah, see? Before you commit to that, before you walk into the parlor and say, give me this.
Give me the parlor.
Tattoo parlor. They're called parlors.
All right. I just texted you texted you the binary for it, Sean.
Let me review. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would be like a whole sleeve.
Oh yeah.
A binary sleeve. So if I'm going to do a binary sleeve, I'm going to have a much cooler phrase than that.
What the phrase you come up with, it will be much shorter. Like I bet you any phrase you came up with would be much shorter than that. So I don't even know how to look at this as far as picking apart what each block represents.
Right.
Like, I don't know. This is obviously not each block of zeros and ones obviously doesn't represent one single character in your phrase. What's the deal with binary? Because there's not enough.
It's not. No, there's more. There's more sections of code than there are letters in the HATS.
Oh, you're right. There's more. I thought there was not enough. Huh. I mean, you got to maybe you have to factor.
Yeah, there's extra. It's weird. The spaces, maybe.
Spaces, or did you put in the apostrophe and question mark, or no?
I did not.
Ah. Huh. Well, for those who can't see,
the spaces are in there. Yep, the space is in there. A space is 001000000. So the spaces are in there.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So to your earlier point, a space is that many characters in binary form. Yep. How is that less complex than
a space?
I mean, it's less complex in that you truly are just dealing with a 0 and a 1. Like you're not dealing with any other characters.
But somebody had to create that code and be like, "Oh, well, now if I want this to exist, now I have to give this a distinct
set of zeros and ones.
8, yeah, and everything is 8 zeros or ones. It's a combination of 8 zeros or ones.
Is that why you'll have systems that are 8-bit systems and then you move on to say 16-bit systems to allow for more characters to
probably, yeah. That's probably why it's always been in multiples of 8.
Multiples of 8, yeah. There we go. Learning.
It all makes sense now. No, I've always I don't know why, but I've always liked binary, Morse code, and like Roman numerals.
Sure.
And that's like every time I've thought about like what tattoos to get, I've always wanted one of those three things, like only. So if I like covered my body in tattoos, I'd want basically just in those three things somehow incorporated into like everything.
Gotcha. So you said Morse code,
and binary,
Roman numerals.
Yeah. Because they're all just like outdated, pretty much outdated. Not outdated. I guess binary is not outdated, but they're all like forms of communication that aren't super used, or at least aren't on the forefront. Like binary is such a background thing, you know. And Morse code is pretty much outdated. I feel like Morse code at this point is really just used for emergencies. Like if like, oh, we have no other way of trying to get communication, this thing beeps or this light flashes, we can use that to try to communicate. And then Roman numerals are just, you know, they're used in advertising and things like that, but not like, you know, they're not the main thing to use for numbers.
You could get a tattoo that says, are you going to watch? And that part can be in Morse code. And then the word Super Bowl, and that part can be binary. And then the Roman numeral for the whatever number Super Bowl it's on. You could have that as your tattoo. It'll incorporate all three.
Great for 1 year.
Yeah. Or it could be
plan it out way for the future.
Here's how you make it timeless. Instead of saying, are you going to watch? Just have it say, did you watch Super Bowl, whatever. And then hopefully the year you choose is a particularly good, exciting Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then people will be like, yo, I remember that Super Bowl. It was great. The one time the halfback did something surprising and won the game. So people really remember sports moments like nothing.
I can tell the way you just described that.
I'm not saying I do.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, I'm always baffled by the amount of space people keep in their brain to store sports facts and stats.
I think it's just the same as like anybody else. Like whatever if that's what you're interested in, that's what you retain. You know. So
right, but
like Eric's got a ton of fucking like space knowledge and shit in his head because that's what he's into, but he doesn't know shit about sports.
That's true. I guess since I'm not into sports,
like what do you retain a ton of knowledge of? Like what could you just like pull out of the?
I mean, I don't even know if there's anything.
I mean, Tool.
I mean, I probably have some. I mean, I'm sure I have a little bit more than the average person. I know a little more than the average person on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say just Tool, but just like well, there's certain things of music for bands that you really appreciate that you have more knowledge of than you would other things.
You and I are similar that we can pull stupid TV show and movie quotes that are useless to know.
Yeah, I have like, I wouldn't even say like I have a lot of pop culture knowledge. It's like I have pop culture knowledge of things that I enjoy, but mostly like straight up general pop culture knowledge I'm terrible at. I don't have a good grasp on anything that's going on now. Oh, it's God, absolutely not.
It's all from an era, a bygone era.
It's I think it's for most people probably pop culture to them is just it's very based around a specific period of their life, and it's a lot of your adolescence into adulthood of basically your development years,
your formative
figuring
years.
out who you are. Yeah, there you go. Just figuring out who you are, and then that's what you retain of like, that's my pop culture era. This is, I can, throw down knowledge on this timeline, But even in that timeline, it's still a very like focused amount of knowledge, Yeah.
It's not everything from that era. It's still honed in on specific things you were interested in from that era.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, there are people that, like, let's say, I think music is the biggest, most common form of entertainment where people are like, they get locked in on a certain era from their youth, and they sort of deny what comes after that to an extent.
Yeah, you see that's generationally, yeah, for sure.
TV shows and movies, new ones come out and you still watch them and enjoy them. You're not so much locked in on TV shows and movies from a certain era as much as you are music.
Yeah, I think a lot of times TV shows and movies and stuff like that, because they become so dated over time too, that they're just kind of like they sometimes kind of lose their appeal.
Whereas I got something that I have
more. Yeah,
I have something I have a lot of knowledge on that is useless. Back to the Future. We've covered that. So there's an example. There's a thing, and I'll mention Seinfeld right now, but I'm only going to mention it because it's kind of related to what we're talking about. There's been someone had gone through and figured out how many problems that they experienced during that show that if cell phones were around would not have existed. Like if that show came out when cell phones existed, almost none of the show would have even happened, because a lot of the things they run into are like not getting a hold of someone at an opportune time, or it's
so it's like so they assume something else is going on when really nothing is going on, or
or like somebody says something and then they're about to deliver the message to that person's boss, but then they find out that's a bad idea, and so they try to they try to
we got to stop them
from in time before the boss sees it, and it's just stuff like that would not be, and like being out somewhere and not being able to find a payphone to call someone for whatever reason, like none of that stuff.
Like, the car broke down,
So
what was the number? Did you remember? With how many problems did they come up with a number of how many problems it was throughout the show?
I don't know.
It could have been.
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I just heard that someone did that.
Oh, okay.
I never looked into it or saw it for myself.
Okay. So should I give you as much shit about you not knowing the actual answer to that as you and everybody else gave me about the whole fish fucking thing?
No, and I defended you on that.
I got so much shit for the fucking a fish is not a fish thing. Like, come on. It was just a thing I had heard, and I was just relaying the thing I heard.
No, and I'm sure there's validity in what you said. That's not what my hang up was. And you know that. Everyone else jumped on the statement, fish aren't fish. That's what everyone else jumped on and tackled you for.
Right.
My hang up was the fact that there was no reason whatsoever for you to say that. It did not further our pursuit to find out what a group of dolphins are swimming together are called. There was no reason for you to say it. You just were saying it because you wanted to say it. It didn't
because the direction of conversation reminded me of hearing about that article or hearing about that thing. So I'm just like, hey, a fish is not a fish.
Yeah. So that was my deal. That was my deal with it.
I mean, was I surprised that everybody fucking vilified me? Absolutely not.
But I wish they would have vilified you for the right reasons.
Well,
they and I had to defend I had to defend you because they were vilifying you for the wrong reason.
Right.
Especially Eric. He really he challenged your credibility,
He did, even though it was not my fucking article.
No. I never read the article that you sent.
No, and the reason I sent the article, like I never read the article either. I saw a very short clip of a guy kind of explaining why there's technically technically when you get down to it, there's really no such thing as a fish. Like the classification of fish isn't really a thing or whatever. But I just saw a little clip about it, and he explained how, this thing, this particular, like a carp is more closely related to this kind of thing. And then a bass is more closely related to this kind of thing. Like they're not remotely related to each other.
Okay.
So to just call all of them. So it's not to say that a fish doesn't exist. It's just to classify all things that look like a fish as fish is incorrect, is basically what it's saying. Gotcha. So I don't know if that's the best way I've ever explained it. And it makes more sense now. But that's kind of the idea of what the dude was saying. Is just like to just say everything in the ocean that's not a mammal is a fish is incorrect.
And I don't know that, like when people are saying, all the fish in the sea, are they talking about, are they also referring to, say, crustaceans or invertebrates? Like, what are they referring to? All sea life? Are they only referring to the things that are, they have a head, they have fins, they have a body with scales? Is that what they're talking about? Are they not? So,
yeah. Well, yeah, I think a lot of those other things would classify under something else that wouldn't be considered fish.
No, I know that, but when someone says, "Oh," for example,
there's plenty of fish in the sea.
There's plenty of fish in the sea. I know they're really referring to people that are on the market, but when they say fish, are they talking about what we traditionally think of as a fish, or are they also thinking about, say, crabs or algae or the coral reef, all that kind of stuff?
I would assume that the phrase is just generalizing what we consider to be fish, like, and not necessarily all sea life. But
when they invented the game Go Fish, are they talking about any form of life that's in the sea, or were they just
I think they're referring to the act of fishing.
The act of fishing, but the act of fishing is to catch fish. And what are fish in this scenario? Right. I'm asking you.
You're actually asking.
You're agreeing. I asked you a question and you agreed.
I agreed. I agreed to your question.
Matt, what are fish? Yes, I concur. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be done with this.
There's a lot of questions today.
There are,
which is funny because I pulled up a thing of like questions that I could ask you. And this one website, I was just trying to find some weird questions, just try to get some weird answers.
Is this like the internet's funniest questions?
Oh, I mean, it's some of this stuff is right up there with that same caliber. But some of them are just kind of weird, and I was just curious as to what you'd possibly say to some of them. But I don't know. It seems like anytime I try to prepare something for the episode, it just turns into just the dumbest shit.
Well, we can say that for both of us, I think. But
yeah, well,
why not? Ask me some questions.
I'll ask a few weird ones. So, like,
I'm questioning this episode.
Let's see. What's the most inappropriate object in your fridge? What do you consider inappropriate? Something that shouldn't be in there, or like? I mean,
everything that's in my fridge.
An ice dildo? Like, what could you consider like an inappropriate object in your fridge? Like, is there something that you're just trying to keep cold? Sure, freezer can count. It's part of your refrigerator.
Let's go with a popsicle then. I guess that type of object can be used.
Could be okay.
So I'll say popsicles. I
mean, in general, not an inappropriate thing to have in there, but could be used inappropriately. Yeah, I mean, I could apply that also then to there are some corn dogs. Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard tell of popsicles being used inappropriately,
but not
corn dogs,
especially not those fresh out of the oven.
Well, fresh out of the oven or just fresh out of the freezer. I don't think either would be an ideal situation.
I'm sure that has happened. There's probably a community out there.
Yeah, what's that internet rule? I can't remember what that internet rule is, where if you think of it, it's out there. Like if you can think of it, there's a fetish for it.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Rule 33 or something, whatever it's called.
There's probably a world out there of individuals who partake in recreational activities with corn dogs.
Corn dogging, as it were.
Corn dog. Did you just coin that term?
I just did, because you know what dogging is.
I don't know what dogging is.
So in Great Britain, this is the British Minute. Hold on.
Oh, that's right. It's British Minute.
It came back.
Yay.
No, like dogging is like when they go like park somewhere and like have sex in a car or whatever. They call it dogging.
Oh.
So corn dogging.
Classy term. Very classy.
So corn dogging kind of works.
The Brits are so formal and proper. Unless that practice is looked down upon, which is why they call it dogging. Like it's very lewd. Not to be done.
And not to be outdone.
Such a dreadful act. Meredith, were you dogging? I caught you and that boy dogging.
You slut.
You adolescent slut.
You've put me at risk.
You put me at risk. Meredith, you enjoy dogging.
That will always be my favorite callback that I want to constantly keep bringing back.
It's a good one.
Yeah. What is... I'm going to read this how it's worded, which I think is improper, but what is the name you heard that made you question humans' imagination?
Are you talking about
a name you've heard?
So like someone, like a child, like a person's
somebody's name. Yeah. What is a name that you heard somebody like yell to their kid
that made me
question that made you question just humans' imagination? Just like, oh God, what a stupid name.
Well, there have been plenty. I mean,
yeah. All right, let's go. Make a list.
Well, there's Copilot.
Right.
I think there's
Copilot.
I think that's Jason Lee's kid.
No, it's something Pilot, but I don't think it's Copilot. Oh, what was it? I can't remember. I now have to. This is
have to look it up.
Another episode full of Googles, but
I know there have been other names, but why am I not thinking of them? What's
his kid's name is Pilot Inspector.
Pilot Inspector. Why did I get Copilot?
Pilot was the first. Pilot's the kid's first name. Inspector, spelt Inspektor.
Ah, okay.
Inspector.
So like a specter. Well, Spectre
Pilot
is different.
Inspector Lee. It's just a weird name.
There's Northwest. Apple?
It's gonna be the celebrities. It's all the celebrities. Shit.
Well, I don't know of any civilians with very strange names.
I've heard a lot of, there's always that thing sometimes where you hear like a really weird name that, like, say specifically a black person has, and you're like, oh, that's a crazy weird name. Like, why would you name your kid this weird fucking thing? But a lot of those names, I found out over time, a lot of those names are actually very old, traditional, like African names.
Okay.
That we just, they sound really weird to Americans because they're just like some weird ass thing. But then you like, oh no, they're actually like very historical names in African communities, but you just don't, us whiteys, we don't hear those kind of things.
Us Anglo-Saxon.
We just, name our kids Pilot and Apple. And
I heard of, I forget who it was. This guy that, Chuck, who was a guest, he's a jewelry guest at the shopping network I used to work at. I think he was talking about one of his kids' fiancés or something, and their name was Soleil.
Wow.
Like that was their first, like the last name was Soleil, but let's just name them Soleil as their first name. It was, and he was telling it like he didn't believe it himself until he saw, saw it for himself. That was their actual name. So that's a non-celebrity name.
That's
a little
it probably has, again, it's probably like some sort of traditional name or something, but it's
family history or something.
But to name the first name so similarly to the last name, it's just it's almost a tongue twister.
Yeah, it just
sounds like you've lost your mind when you're saying
it. You're having a stroke.
But it's one of those.
You're slurring, and you're obviously 3 sheets to the wind or whatever they say. But it was one of those names where you have to sort of slow it down and enunciate it very strongly to. Yeah. Otherwise, you don't even hear the whole thing. Like
just the teacher calling roll call at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine that being the new kid at school and that's your name.
Yeah. Our teachers just had a stroke.
Do you have him? I don't know if I've ever known this. Unless if you have sort of an atypical last name or first name, but last name I think is more common. It's very common for people to have trouble pronouncing it correctly.
Right.
Did you run into that? Is your name pretty self-explanatory enough?
Oh, no. My name is always mispronounced. Constantly. Like letters get added in. It's like weird. Like people add like W's, say like Schwegel. What? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I'm like, Schlegel is a lot. Like that happens a lot.
Sure, that makes sense.
The spelling of it, that kind of makes more sense that they would have that, the LEG would have a Lee sound instead of a, or a league sound instead of a leg sound, even though that is the word leg.
Right.
That's how it's pronounced. But yeah, I don't know. It gets, I'm trying to think of some really crazy ones that I've had, but Schlegel a lot. Schwegel's happened quite a bit.
Schwegel's weird. That's a funny one.
That one's weird. Like they'll literally a lot of times if I'm getting a call from somebody who's, obviously doesn't know me or whatever, and they're like, I need to speak with Mr. Schle. I just immediately interrupt them and yeah, it's me.
Yeah. I'm Mr. Schle.
I am Mr. Schle.
They could have been looking for Mr. Schlogala and you just claimed that you were them. Well, because that happens. You're addressing someone that you've never talked to before and you're seeing their name for the first time. You're trying to, if it's an uncommon arrangement of letters that you're not familiar with, you're trying to quickly get their name out without it being so obvious that you have no idea how to pronounce it. But you're also trying not to say something completely crazy to embarrass them yourself. So I could see the Schwegel part being your brain just didn't put all the letters in order properly. Right. So you filled in some blanks just to say something. I think
I've had Schlegel too.
Oh, I would do that. I would call yourself that going forward.
Schlegel.
I'm Mr. Schlegel.
I am Mr. Schlegel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a Bond villain is talking to you now.
Yeah.
I just wish you, Mr. Schlegel.
I wish they would have kept the Vaughn at the beginning of it, which they dropped when they came over.
What's stopping you from putting it back?
I mean, I could legally go do it, I suppose. Yeah. Be kind of cool. I mean, my name is already so much to say, and it's already so many letters long that I don't necessarily need to add 3 more to it.
That's true. You have a lot of letters in your name.
I think it's 28.
So I was always jealous of people who have names that could be shortened, right?
Yeah.
Like my middle name is Matthew, which is your first name, but no one ever, you don't call someone by their middle name.
Well, and you don't shorten a middle name either. It'd be weird.
You don't shorten a middle name either. But my Sean, it's just 4 letters. You can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
I can't choose to go by, you know what? I feel like I should go by, this name, this portion of my name as my name.
You can just tell people that your full name is, just tell people your full name is Jonathan.
But that's not a real name.
Jonathan Matt. Nothing's a real name. Anything can be a real name.
People love to say Jonathan because it's similar to Jonathan.
Yeah.
And they like to say it to be cute. So,
well, let's make up a new one. Let's give you a new name. Sean can either be the beginning part of it or it could be the end part of the new first name. And you just choose to use the
letter part?
Letter half. Yeah.
I don't know.
Shanice.
Institution.
I think that's a real name.
Shanice is a real name.
Yeah.
But no, you just said all names.
My name is Institution Matthew Tattoo. That's amazing. Let's do that one.
I tried to.
Can you legally please change your name to Institution?
We'll see. But the last part is still spelled SEAN.
Right. Of course.
No, I tried to come up with some weird thing a long time ago where some woman was she was crazy and she was imagining that she had these. No, this is like a fake, but she was imagining that she had.
I thought you were telling an actual story for a second. What is this thing with this woman? She was crazy.
No. The woman I made up was crazy, and she was claiming she had all these children, and the children's names that she claimed to have were Hal, Lucy, Nate, and Sean.
Nice.
I
like it.
But
should workshop that a little bit. See if you can make it part of your 3-minute.
My
3-minute stand-up bit.
Yeah, I guess if I wanted.
Have you started working on that at all?
Nope.
Oh, come on, you got to do it.
I think I intended to go there not to try anything, but just to watch. Last week, but something came up. I might go there this Tuesday to catch some open mic stand up, and then I figure I could maybe try to talk to someone and just ask if that would be allowed. Right. Try to do, but
I have an idea for a bit.
I'm worried about doing that or without having it ready, asking if it was something that could be done. because I'm worried about that idea then somehow making its way to other people without me coming up with the routine first. I don't know how much.
I develop the routine and then just be like, hey, I'm working on this routine.
This is what
I would potentially like to try, but I need to get permission, obviously, to do my 3-minute act.
Don't say you just gave it away.
I mean, more or less.
No, my whole worry about revealing the concept of the idea to the person who runs that
I'll bleep that out.
Spread, and then you just
I'll bleep it out.
Blast it out on the podcast.
I'll bleep it out.
Sure.
It'll be
bleep it out?
Yeah, 100%. I will bleep it out.
All right, bleep it out.
All right.
I have a killer idea, and I don't want anyone taking it. I want to reserve the right to do it.
I wrote down 50 minutes bleep.
Gotcha.
I will bleep it out. So everybody heard a bleep, but they'll still hear your complaint about me saying it.
They will. And then they'll be really curious as to what upset me, which is good.
I mean, you're not that upset. All right. I'm going to try to find another question. Some of these are dumb, obviously.
Shocker.
That one, this must be a British thing because that doesn't make sense to me.
It should make sense to you. You're very...
This question, the way this question is worded is just dumb. Is snake animal or tail?
It's an animal.
It's just dummy.
Tail is part of an animal.
If you had to start a rumor, what would it be?
What? That's a dumb question.
Somebody's holding a gun to your head and says, "Start a rumor."
The moon is flat.
Oh, let's get that out there.
Yeah, the moon's flat. Everyone, flat. I'm a flat mooner.
Oh man,
which means
you have no ass.
I have no ass. I like to show people.
Vamp for a second.
Yeah. I was thinking like if I was, because I was going to try to also tie in the idea that the moon landing was fake as well into that, but I couldn't figure out how.
They just landed on the moon and just went,
yeah. Like you ran into a door that was supposed to open and it didn't, and so you just slide down.
The classic comical hit something then slide down it.
Yeah. I don't know if it's used much anymore.
Probably not.
Probably for good reason.
Very big cartoon trope.
Yes.
Can you make yourself seem like a psychopath by just one text?
Oh, probably.
I don't want you to look like one. I just want you to seem like one. What could you text somebody to make you seem like a psychopath?
What's the difference between looking like a psychopath and seeming like a psychopath? Because they're not. When they say look like one, I'm sure they don't mean. Well, when they say that you look like a psychopath, I'm not sure they're just. I'm sure they're not just talking about like your physical appearance.
Right. We'll assume it's the same thing in this instant. What could you text somebody right now randomly? So you can't text me because obviously. You know it's coming. You have to text somebody completely out of so somebody you haven't texted at all yet today, or maybe in like the last week. What could you text a random person? Like scroll down your phone a little bit, pick a random person that you haven't texted in a little while. What could you text that random person to make you seem like a psychopath?
I mean, there's so many things you could say. What is a psychopath? Like I get a lot of those things sort of. I treat a lot of those sort of terms like they're interchangeable,
right?
Like psychopath and crazy, but they're not all the same. So I guess I would need to have a more clear understanding about what a psychopath is by definition to be able to come up with something to say to be seemed as one.
Let's just say, what is something that you could text somebody randomly right now that would make them immediately delete your number?
I'm seconds away from murdering you.
Well, yeah.
Well, I guess would deleting my numbers save them in that scenario? It probably wouldn't help. If I'm seconds away, them performing the act of deleting my number would is precious time they could have used trying to escape.
I think if you said something like, "I had the most amazing dream of murdering you last night,"
that's good. Like you're pleased with the dream.
Yeah. It can't just be like, "I had a crazy dream where I murdered you last night." That would just be like, "Oh, that's fucking nuts."
It's like I had a
just being like, I
didn't want to wake up.
I woke up with an erection this morning from a dream I had where I was murdering you.
That's one thing.
I think that would do it.
I had there's someone I used to work with that a long time ago, I forget, she was talking to a few of us that were around, and she said, "Hey, has anybody else ever been, like, let's say you're walking with someone and you're sort of on a bridge. Has anyone ever else just thought, like, what if I just push them off the bridge right now?" And all of us were like,
break's over.
No, we've never thought that before.
I have a lot of times been like driving through Wisconsin and just look to the side of the road and feel like, I bet you there's some bodies in that woods.
Well, that's
or like that would be a good place to hide a body,
Okay, that's
not that I would personally do it, but just be like, if somebody was going to hide a body, I think that woods would be a good place to do it. Doesn't seem like a place people go into very often.
But when people are missing, they end up going to the woods, like just searching through.
Yeah, but like specific woods, like woods like near where they may have been last seen. But if you if you kidnap somebody, get them far enough away from where they are typically seen, and then find a very nice wooded area, very scenic, and hide their body there. I'm putting too much thought into this.
Yeah. Well, sounds like
another question.
You know what? I think it would be very, very difficult for an astronaut to get away with murder, especially if
they're in space.
If they're in space.
Okay. Yeah. If they're just on Earth, no harder than anybody else.
Because you talk about, although maybe it's the opposite, but you talk about, putting a body somewhere where it's hard to find them. Like I imagine an astronaut just leaving a body on the moon. That actually would take a lot of work to actually locate.
Yeah.
A lot of resources. So, but
I mean, I think the best thing to do is stage, say two astronauts need to go outside the space station to repair something. And that's one of them
something to go
stages an accident or whatever, and basically just pushes the guy off a little bit. If he doesn't have his little he's gonna have to sabotage this little pack thing so he can't move himself around. But just give him a slight nudge. It's all you need to do, because once he starts floating away, there's nothing he can really do to stop himself from doing that. So yeah, I think you could you kind of at least. I mean, you could kill somebody, whether or not you'd get away with it at that point.
You don't even have to be an astronaut to say that. Like, anyone can kill someone, and you not get away with it. Why is
I'm saying, as far as that astronaut is concerned.
Next question.
Name the wildest bet you've ever lost. You make many bets?
I don't.
And have you lost many bets? You're not the type of person's like, I'll fucking, if I'm wrong, I'm gonna, streak across the quad.
No, I've never done anything like that. I don't even bet things for money. Like, if I'm playing cards, you bet there, but I've never been like, I bet you $20. He'll never say that, or he'll never, I've never, to my recollection.
Me and you had one time. Me and you bet money.
What was the bet?
It was a specific lyric of a song. What's the artist's name? The Toast guy.
Haywood Banks.
Haywood Banks. It was a Haywood Banks song, and it was the song where he's talking about how many miles of nerves you have in your body.
Sure, I love that song. And it's called Inches and Miles.
Inches and Miles. And we had a bet on what the lyric was of you're getting on every. You are getting on every inch of my, I think is the word. And I thought he said every last inch of my. And you're like, no, it's not. And we had an argument about it. So we bet each other 1,000 yen.
Why are you betting me on Haywood Banks lyrics?
I don't know. I was very sure of myself for some reason.
You're walking in.
I hadn't heard nearly as many times as you had heard.
I mean, you're entering the lion's den in that scenario.
So yeah, every once in a while, if Sean and I do make a bet, I know we've jokingly done it a couple of times since then, but we always bet each other 1,000 yen, which at the time was like $7 something.
I think it was $7.17 or something like that.
Something weird, yeah. So I'm sure it's more now.
So I can't even use that example as
a good.
I can't even use that example as the craziest bet I've ever lost then, because I won that bet.
True.
And I don't think you ever paid up.
I'm sure I did, like, because we made the bet when we were like at Denny's or something. I'm sure.
Maybe you picked up
sure I've paid
meal or something.
Paid for a meal or something since then or whatever. But
yeah, I don't have an answer for that. Do you have a crazy bet lost?
I also really just don't make bets like that.
Yeah, I've never even bet anything like
not sure. You know?
Yeah, but I've never been like, oh, well, if I'm right, basically like where, like, let's say two people are betting something and the loser has to shave their head, or even it's not even money,
right?
Never been even offered to bet something like that, or never initiated a bet like that. I've
always done like stupid dares. Have you? I've done dumb dares, but the dumb dares are always like procured by myself. Like, hey, do you dare me to do this? Okay,
man.
And then I do it.
You don't seek attention at all.
No, not in the slightest, Sean. I have a podcast.
Why would
I seek attention?
You just walk up to someone like they're minding their own business. They have no interest in this at all. Hey, do you bet I won't do this thing?
One of them was.
Now that I have to think about it.
I was like, do you dare me to take a shot of this Parmesan cheese shaker?
Oh,
it was not good.
No,
it just turned into a big ball of Parmesan cheese in my mouth.
Yeah. Oh, no, I would never.
It tasted good for about the first 3 seconds. Then it was just a big glob of just goo.
Well, Parmesan cheese is delicious.
It is delicious. Even though I'm not 100% sure if the grated Parmesan cheese is actual Parmesan cheese, but
well, yeah. How can it last that long being shelf stable, right?
Yeah. All right, I'm going to try to find another decent question here. Some of these are really stupid. Boop. I thought there was better ones that were. Where did I see some decent ones? These lists are always like super, super long, and then to try to find something decent out of it. What is the most disgusting way someone has hit on you?
I mean, I don't get hit on. So,
do you have a funny story of any time somebody's like, not necessarily disgusting, but an interesting or slightly funny story of somebody hit on you?
No. I mean, the
waste of time.
No, I know I'm sorry. I wouldn't say I was someone that, people were knocking down doors to get to. So I don't, people didn't.
Sean and I were very much in the friend zone. We were the friend zone high school people.
Yeah, very much so. So
always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
No,
did you ever hit on somebody in a funny way? Where then you could just be like, I was just joking when getting turned down.
I remember, I remember working at Coburn's, and I remember asking one of the cashiers, I just said, hey, would you want to go in the bathroom and make out? And she had a boyfriend, but she's like, yeah, sure, let's go. And I was like, and we never did, because I was just like, there's no way you're serious. Right. Because I'm me and you're you and you have a boyfriend, so why would you say yes to that? So I'm sure she was kidding, but maybe she wasn't. But it never went beyond me asking her, just saying, yeah.
What? Oh no, I don't. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I gotta go bag something.
Yeah, I gotta go change my pants now. No. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I really have anything either of like. I think like my whole thing was I was so like I had zero confidence when it came to women back in those days that I was just like, it was like usually like, hey, I really like your friend. Would you tell him that I like him? Or like,
sure.
Giving somebody a note or something. So it was never like straight up, yeah, I'm going to ask her.
Yeah,
because I'm super confident. Because it was more of like, if I get turned down, I'm going to kill myself.
I asked somebody out once, and over the phone, and I forget what their answer. I forget what they responded with, but it wasn't. I think it was sort of like a I don't know answer.
Right.
And then later on, their friend called me to tell me no. And it's a friend that I had never talked to on the phone before. So it was like, why are you calling me? Type of a thing.
Oh, man. It's so fucking typical of kids back in the day, too, of just like, I don't want to deal with this confrontation.
Yeah. That was probably...
I'm going to say, I don't know, and then I'm going to have my friend turn them down instead.
Yeah. I mean, that was probably, I would say 7th grade, maybe.
I had somebody have their friend called me to break up with me.
Ah, very brave.
They're like, she doesn't want to go out with you anymore. And I was just like, okay.
Oh,
like, I'm fine with it. It wasn't really much of a relationship. We like hung out one time.
I remember being I remember being at some party and, when you're at a party and there's that sort of like a girl likes you. And so people are telling you like, oh, she likes you. You should go, whatever.
Right.
And then there's that sort of thing in the air the whole party. And then you eventually just sort of like go up to them and we were like making out for a while at the party. And then, we had then talked on the phone a few times over the next couple of weeks. And then I was just like, this isn't working. We should be done. It's because it's like for most of my entire school life, I had no car. So it was very difficult for me to be like, hey, let's go out sometime.
So it just literally becomes just an over the phone relationship because especially if it's somebody you don't like go to school with.
Yeah, and this person didn't go to our school.
Yeah, so we'd like go to weird random parties. You'd meet somebody there that you'd never seen before. So of course you're just like, oh, they're pretty. I like them.
Yeah. And I don't remember if that person, I don't remember if I had met that night or maybe met one other time before that, so it was like, I didn't even know this person. Or I remember going to a roller rink.
Of course, which we had done.
We had done many times.
At least 5 times.
Yeah. And, there's some girl there where it's like, oh, so-and-so likes you. Oh, yeah, well, and then you like, hey, you want to be boyfriend, girlfriend? And then you like hold hands while roller skating or something. And then...
Yeah, backwards.
Yeah, and then, and then during the course of that same evening, they decided I was tight, which if you remember what that meant back in the day, tight meant you weren't any fun. You didn't you were too uptight and maybe nervous about
it was the shortened version of uptight.
Yeah, pretty much. So
uptight's too hard to say.
But during that same night, this girl broke up with me. And then I remember
crying in a corner.
No, there was another girl that liked me. So then we quote unquote started dating that same night at the roller rink. And then I think that was the only time I hung out with her was that night at that roller rink. And then it was another time where a few weeks went by talking on the phone. And it's like, we don't see each other. So, we should just be done with this.
I remember this. So, one of your old friends, I don't know if I should even say this person's name on here or whatever, but
toss me some initials. Maybe I can figure it out.
Her name was either spelt with an S or a C. You and Ed were good friends with her.
I think I know who you're talking about, but I'm not entirely sure. But we'll just go on.
Rhymes with Palisa.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I know.
Rhymes with a word that isn't a word.
I was not thinking of that person, but now I know who.
But so she like had a friend who she's like hooked me up with or whatever. Sure. So like over the phone. So we're like talking on the phone for a few weeks and we're like, yeah, we should date. Never met her in person. No clue what she looked like or anything. So me and you went and hung out with her and her friend at some house one time in Minneapolis.
Okay. I think I'm remembering. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Her friend was not my type, we'll say. Without saying too much, she was all right, but she wasn't my type. And honestly, like her personality really didn't mesh well with mine.
Yeah.
But just kind of hung out that day or whatever, and it was just kind of awkward and weird. And then like we're going to leave, and like me and you were in the car and about to leave, and like she came up to say goodbye or whatever, and then like kissed me with like her entire face, just like punched me in the mouth with her face. It was very forceful. And I was like, okay. And then we left, and then like talked maybe a couple times on the phone. Never officially broke up, just stopped communicating. So I've potentially been in a like 22, 23-year relationship with this person.
No, I mean, a relationship suggests that you at least interact with one another.
All right. Well, I potentially am still this person's boyfriend.
Gotcha.
Whether or not, or it's a common law.
Sure.
Boyfriend girlfriend relationship.
That person.
Mm-hmm.
That
is on the call now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, here she is. She's about to break up with you officially.
Oh, I would be heartbroken now.
Yeah. No, that person that introduced you to her, she was one of those people where we both knew that we had crushes on each other.
Right. Yeah.
But nothing ever
Nobody
materialized.
made the move.
It was some of that. It was like no one made the move unless it was when it couldn't happen. It was like I was quote unquote dating someone. So then she's like, "Oh, I like you." I'm like, "Well, I'm
right."
So it was like it never lined up. And then
I had a few of those too, where it was, some of mine were like after the fact, like the person, like I had a crush on somebody and I just assumed they had no interest in me whatsoever. So I was just like, it's just a crush. And then like years later, they're like, yeah, I really had a crush on you back then. And I'm just like,
no, I wish you would have said something. Yeah.
We could have made sweet, sweet love.
Did you say that in response to them delivering the news to you? We could have made sweet love.
In that exact tone.
Yeah. If you did that, she would have been like, "Oh, it's a good thing I didn't say anything because I dodged that. I dodged that bullet. Big, sad, sappy bullet."
But yeah, I had that happen on at least 2 occasions that I can think of right now that happened, and I was just like, like I had super crushes on these 2 girls, and found out later, like, yeah, I had a crush on you too.
There are some people that I can think of right now that, like, I'm similar to you, where my confidence non-existent, and like my first thought was that nobody is even remotely interested.
Right.
So I was never going to assume or even entertain the idea that someone might have those type of feelings about me.
Right.
But now looking back, there's a couple where I can go, that person probably had a thing for me, and I probably could have made a move on. But I don't think there's been a time that I can think of where someone said something later and it was like, well, why didn't you say anything? Because I don't think that's happened to me.
It's so crazy to think too, because like just having no confidence in that aspect of our lives back then, but then having like complete and utter confidence in the other direction of just like, I will say anything, I'll do it, I will embarrass the absolute shit out of myself if it gets a laugh.
Yeah.
And like I'll do everything on this spectrum of things, but when it comes to girls, like I can't handle it.
There's no feelings involved when it comes to doing stupid stuff to make people laugh, other than the rush you get from the laughter. Yeah,
and I think it's that thing where it's like, well, this is self-inflicted, so I'm fine with it. But if I tell a girl I like her and then she says no, like you always think of like the best case scenario, they're just like, oh, I really like you, friend. I don't feel for you that way. But immediately your head always just goes to, there's like, no, you're ugly. Fuck you. Get away from me. It's like, I can't take that.
Well, I feel like us being so willing to just say stupid things or make yourself look stupid for a laugh, it almost felt like it was less of, you're not putting yourself out there as much as to say, just to tell a girl you like her or something. So
there's a different vulnerability involved.
Yeah, because most of the times it's pretty reliable that if you do something just so stupid to yourself that some people will laugh at it, whether they're laughing at how stupid you are or laughing because they thought what you did was actually funny.
Right.
That response is all the same to you. It's the laughing you get it.
Yeah.
So it's not.
It's like I'm getting what I want.
Right.
Whatever I want. You know.
So it's a bit of a safety net there because you know that's likely going to happen.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to laugh.
That's what I'm looking for. I'll take whatever type of laughter it is. That's fine.
Right. And one of the things is even though I didn't ask, I very, very rarely said like, I have feelings for you or I like you or I have a crush on you. Mm-hmm. I was very flirtatious and I liked being flirtatious and girls seemed to like that, but I took it as they see me as this goofy, funny, friendly guy. So they like talking to me. So I always thought if I told them how I felt, they're not going to want to talk to me anymore because now it's going to feel awkward or weird.
Exactly.
So then I will no longer be able to flirt with that person. So I flirted with a lot of people and never took it anywhere beyond that, thinking that if I did say something, the flirting is now over with. So that was it's a stupid way to approach it.
But it's just that whole thing as you get older, you realize how lame it all was, and you're just like, I should have just fucking taken my shot and just fucking who cares?
It's keeping yourself in a safe, it's preventing yourself from getting hurt feelings.
Would I chance losing a potential friendship over, the slim chance of gaining a romantic girlfriend, a romantic partner or whatever you want to call it when you're in fucking high school. But
and I also knew
it's weird.
Like I also knew like I didn't drive, so it's not like I could like pick a girl up and take her on a date anyway.
Matt, can you come pick me up? I got to go on this date with but the funny thing is, bring me to Jennifer's house or whatever. But
the funny thing was, it was never enough of a motivator to get me to like just get my license and get a car. I didn't care enough to pursue.
Why do you want your license, Sean? Because you want to be more independent and blah blah blah. No, I just want to get a girlfriend. Yeah, get a car, get a girlfriend.
I mean,
it didn't stop you from having a job that was so many miles away from home and all sorts of stuff.
But most of the time I was going there after school, so I would just walk over there.
Yeah, and then just get picked up later.
And then I could always, like, my parents would drop. My parents would drop me off often. I think if it was on a weekend day that I was working, but there was only the one or two occasions where I all of a sudden didn't have a ride to work and I had to rollerblade to work from my house.
That's a long rollerblade trip on roads with lots of rocks on them.
Yep. And it was in the summer both times, and I made sure to get there with time to spare. So I went to just sort of hang out in the dairy cooler for a while just to cool off. Not that did anything for whatever odor I had mustered up from sweating so much and whatever. It was gross.
Yeah.
And I had to wear a tie. Like I had to wear a tie at that job.
Right.
So it's not like I could even sort of dress a little more casually on those days because of my circumstance. I still had to wear a button-up shirt long with a tie. You could wear shorts.
And then a smock. A smock or an apron. I went with the apron.
You had an apron. The aprons were typically worn by people in like the produce section and like the meat department and stuff. The guys that were like baggers or cashiers, they typically wore the vests.
Yeah, but I bagged and cashiered, and I thought I always wore an apron, but maybe
you did.
Maybe I did wear a vest.
No, you wore no. Well, I think you had a vest, but you also at some point I think acquired an apron instead.
Probably, yeah, because I hate vests.
Like Svenny, he wore an apron because he was someone who stocked produce, I think.
Okay.
So, and Clint, he wore an apron.
Okay. I forgot about all the people that worked there. So many people we went to school with worked at the.
Well, it was very close. We were all high school age, so you just get these dumb high school jobs. There are a lot of people went through that store.
That one, that, and then between that store and Cub, it was just everybody from high school worked in those grocery stores pretty much.
I was only aware of a few people that worked at Cub, but since I didn't work there, I wasn't witness to who else might have worked there. But there was only a couple names I can think of that I knew worked at that Cub.
Yeah.
But when it came to Coburn's, obviously I worked there a long time, so I saw all the other people that worked there. But there were a lot of people from school that worked there.
Yeah, it had to be a good like 15, 20 at least.
Yeah,
probably more than that.
It came and went.
Yeah, good stuff. Good times. Yeah.
Very times.
I just found, okay, I'm going to end on, I know we're going a little long here, but this question just came up and we're going to end on this question, Sean.
Right.
Which fruit do you find sexy?
Fruit, huh?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're going through the grocery store and you go through the produce section, you get up to that fruit stand and you just start going, oh yeah.
I mean, you have to say, don't you kind of have to say peach? Like,
you don't have to.
Isn't there an argument for a peach?
I mean, it depends on what you're into.
Well, I'm not going to say banana, so don't try to.
I'm not trying to get you to say banana.
Yeah. I mean, I do buy bananas a lot, but it's not for that reason.
No.
I guess, I don't know.
I buy bananas. It's not for the shape. It's for the taste. Kiwi?
No, kiwis aren't sexy either. No. I enjoy eating kiwi, but no.
A melon of some type.
Yeah, I mean, let's do it. Let's go
nice
the obvious
sexy
there.
Melon.
Let's go melons then, because that's a little more on the nose, I suppose.
Yeah.
But which melon?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's say cantaloupe.
Do you prefer seedless?
Oh, you mean like seedless watermelon? Well, I do. I do prefer seedless watermelon.
I mean, you could have gone with grapes, cherries, apples.
I don't like cherries.
A nice, sexy apple. Passion fruit.
Sure.
A dragon fruit.
Oh yeah.
A kumquat.
I have a thing for lizards that you don't know about. So yeah, a dragon fruit really gets me going.
This has been very informative.
Yeah. Excuse me, I'm currently going. I saw a dragon fruit. I'm in the process of going.
Oh, he's going everywhere.
You've put me at risk.
Bye.
Bye.
We are on TikTok now, which makes us even cooler. HS Famous. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at HS Famous Pod. Email us directly at highschoolfamous@gmail.com. We have Patreon too, but you'll never go there. Altogether, our hearts beat as one.